Envision a realm where each transgression, every imperfection, and all concealed shortcomings transform into your everlasting anguish. Enter Dante's Inferno, a remarkable creation that has enthralled minds for almost 7 centuries. However, this is not merely a story about celestial and infernal realms. This is Dante Alighieri's intimate retribution, cloaked in the guise of divine retribution. It embodies elements of historical fiction, sharp critique, and is wholly unforgettable. Dante's hell is a complex and terrifying place, characterized by windswept rings of yearning, boiling rivers of blood, hypocrites burdened down by glittering cloaks, and treacherous ice frozen in endless darkness. However, this voyage goes beyond poetic justice. Why does Dante condemn Achilles and Odysseus to eternal suffering? Why is Lucifer, the mythical ruler of hell, frozen and powerless? This video explores the Inferno's bizarre, metaphorical, and very intimate aspects through each circle. This story explores human flaws, cultural animosities, and one person's search for meaning in eternity. Prepare for an unforgettable hellish adventure. Let's begin. One of the most captivating works of literature is Dante's Inferno. This begins the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. This timeless poem depicts hell and invites you to explore its depths. Inferno is about personal transformation, divine vengeance, and human choices. However, Dante's ability to weave his imagination, his time's history, and his own grievances into a fascinating story makes it unforgettable. Dante, the poet and protagonist, finds himself lost in a dark woodland at the beginning of the story. Bewilderment, dread, and despair consume him, akin to the spiritual anguish many experience. Have such feelings ever occurred? Are you lost, unsure of your path, and burdened by your mistakes? That's where Dante begins. Dante encounters a leopard, lion, and she-wolf in the dark wood. These monsters represent lust, pride, and greed, human transgressions. The imagery is stunning. Imagine yourself alone in a dark forest when terrifying animals appear and block your path. Dante realizes that these crimes are obstacles he cannot overcome alone in this moment, not just dread. Finally, hope appears. Virgil, the famous Roman poet, generously guides Dante through hell. What is the significance of Virgil in this narrative? In this narrative, he represents human reason, a guiding force that can help us overcome our uncertainties and find the truth. Virgil says, "You must journey through hell to find salvation." Deep statement. For true transformation, we must face our deepest fears and past mistakes. Events are spectacular as they descend into the underworld. 9 concentric circles, each gradually becoming scarier, depict hell. Each circle represents a sin, and the consequence is eerily lyrical. The second circle ensnares lustful individuals in a never-ending storm, depriving them of comfort, just as their appetites on earth carried them away. Could you envision yourself forever ensnared in the storm? Dante makes us consider the consequences of our actions in a meaningful way. Dante and Virgil encounter famous people, legends, and even Dante himself as they travel. The poet weaves his personal experiences into the story, placing political opponents and friends across hell. Taking this action is brave, right? He shows his society's corruption, hypocrisy, and moral failings, not just a story. Despite his time, his message resonates worldwide. We wonder, what outcomes might my choices yield? Where do I find myself within this ethical terrain? In the 9th circle, traitors receive their due, a powerful occasion. Dante sees Satan, immense, terrifying, and imprisoned in ice, gnawing on history's greatest traitors in this icy emptiness. The ultimate symbol of malevolence, frozen by his own crimes, is striking. Dante uses this scene to show how sin chains us. Instead of empowering or liberating, it isolates and destroys. An intriguing aspect of Inferno is that Dante's notion of justice is deeply personal. This is more than a trip to hell. It's an encounter with sin, guilt, and redemption. He invites us to contemplate our own lives as we journey with him. What sins have we invited into our hearts? What must we do to confront them? Dante's Inferno is more than a punishment story. It inspires change. It shows sin's severity, highlighting grace's beauty. Hell may seem like the end, yet the path continues. Dante will travel through purgatory and into paradise. But that story is for another day. Let us consider. What visions might you see while you walk hell's circles? What about yourself? What might it reveal? Hell in Dante's Inferno is a carefully crafted world that explores human wrongdoing. 9 concentric rings represent sins and their punishments. These circles are mirrors that powerfully depict sin. As Dante falls, the torments become more terrible and terrifying, creating a disturbing and unforgettable image of divine retribution. Dante meets indifferent souls at hell's brink, those who lived without good or evil. These people drifted through life without purpose. Their result? Wasps and hornets will torture them as they pursue an empty banner, feeding the worms beneath with their blood and tears. Isn't it a disturbing scene? It forces us to accept that apathy and inaction have consequences. Life offers choices, and not selecting is a decision. Dante and Virgil reach limbo, the first circle, as they descend. Here live noble pagans and unbaptized people. There is no suffering or joy here. Imagine a world of everlasting yearning, a reflection of what might have been if these spirits had accepted divine revelation. Their calm yet sad existence shows the importance of faith in human life. The second circle brings more severe and physical anguish. Desire reigns in this turbulent domain. The winds batter them, symbolizing how their intense passions ruled and devoured them on earth. It is startling to see people caught in anguish, unable to find consolation, and subject to their longings. Could you envision yourself engulfed in such a tempest? Dante describes the punishment and immerses you in it. In the third circle, gluttons receive their due. They lie in a dank, chilling sludge under a relentless rainstorm. Misery and degradation now confront insatiable desires and life's pleasures. It is a shocking image, but it teaches a powerful lesson. Excess and self-indulgence lead to emptiness and ruin. Greed and waste fight endlessly in the fourth circle. They fight, throwing heavy loads and accusing one another of excess and avarice. Their punishment shows the folly of their obsessions, whether hoarding wealth or recklessly wasting it. They lived unbalanced lives. Dante asks, where have we allowed greed or waste to take hold? The fifth circle shows the wrathful and sullen as the voyage progresses. In the dark depths of the river Styx, the wrathful fights endlessly. Trapped in their bitterness, the sullen remain quiet in the depths. The contrast is striking. One group explodes, while the other mourns. Emotions bind both groups together. The punishments get more horrific as Dante falls into the lower circles. The violent are immersed in boiling blood in the seventh circle, watched over by centaurs with bows drawn, ready to avenge. This time of conflict and suffering shows how these spirits destroyed others on earth. The powerful, frightening imagery shows the serious consequences of unchecked violence and hate. The eighth circle, for the deceptive, is a nightmare maze. In this place, deception, hypocrisy, robbery, and lies have appropriate punishments. Thin cloaks cover hypocrites, serpents strike criminals, transforming them into hideous creatures, and muck engulfs flatterers. This illustrates the concept of symbolism. Each detail underscores the truth. Deception hurts trust, relationships, and the soul. Dante finally arrives at Cocytus in the 9th circle, the place of punishment for the wicked. This world is hell's coldest and most desolate, contrasting with the flaming torture generally imagined. People who have betrayed others find themselves trapped in ice and grotesquely posed. While some find themselves submerged, others have their heads above the water, their tears crystallizing on their cheeks. The ultimate traitor, Satan, finds himself trapped in ice, his wings flailing in a futile attempt to escape. His freezing jail symbolizes sin's isolation and paralysis. Every hell circle with symbolic punishments serves two purposes. It proves justice by showing that sin has consequences. Instead, it warns. Dante invites us to consider our existence by recounting these punishments. What sins do we hide? What choices may alienate us from God's grace? Hell demonstrates that divine justice is deliberate and not arbitrary. It is precise, lyrical, and personal. Since each consequence is tied to the violation, we must face its true nature. It makes us consider our decisions and life path. Would you have the guts to look into hell and find your place? Each circle of hell reveals more corruption and pain, making Dante's journey a frightening investigation of sin and justice. As Dante and Virgil descend, the punishments become harsher, each carefully intended to reflect the sin they address. Let's explore each circle with care and discernment on this magnificent voyage. The first circle, limbo, is unique. There is no pain, sorrow, or lament here. This is where non-Christians and virtuous pagans live, souls who lived upright, lives without God's grace. In a gloomy serenity, they yearn constantly. Imagine a vast, peaceful region, populated by revered thinkers like Socrates, bards like Homer, and others whose brilliant legacies failed to redeem. Compared to what awaits, their fate is benign, yet it is marked by a profound lack of joy, a powerful tribute to the agony of being apart from the divine. In the second circle, the decline begins. Here, powerful winds punish those who indulge in lust. Their lives were filled with chaos, akin to a turbulent storm. Dante meets Paolo and Francesca, famous lovers whose forbidden love brought them here. The storm ensnares them, yet their love offers no solace. The persistent winds separate them, just to bring them back again, producing an endless cycle of misery that symbolizes their turbulent passions. Next is the third circle, where gluttons endure a constant freezing rain. Filth engulfs them. This is both physical and symbolic. Their overindulgence in life has left them in the ruins. A terrifying three-headed hound, named Cerberus, guards the souls, devouring them while their cries resound in the darkness. It depicts a life consumed by self-interest in a frightening and haunting way. Greed and waste have reduced the fourth circle to a useless toil. As they lift massive stones, they accuse one another. One faction asks, "Why accumulate?" Another says, "Why waste?" The stones symbolize a deep desire for money, while their punishment symbolizes the emptiness of greedy or reckless excess. They circle in a cycle of futile work. The fifth circle shows wrath and gloom. The furious fight and endless conflict in the darkest depths of the river Styx, while the melancholy souls sink beneath the black waters. The somber spirits speak softly from hiding. Once hidden in silence, their bitterness now consumes them. Rage explodes and bitterness dissolves. Emotions they could not overcome bind both groups together. The sixth circle represents change. Here rest the heretics who rejected God and followed false teachings. They suffer in burning coffins, symbolizing their denial of sacred truth. They seal and burn the coffins forever, a literal and symbolic punishment. Isolation means deep separation from God and the Church. Dante walks among them, mindful of their agony and contemplating spiritual decisions. The seventh circle depicts the effects of violence in three terrifying landscapes. Violators are drowned in a torrent of boiling blood, while centaurs shoot at those who flee. Suicide victims become thorny trees with broken and bleeding branches. Flames fall from the heavens, scattering transgressors of the divine and natural order throughout a fiery sand desert. Every sight reminds us that violence hurts both victims and perpetrators, leaving permanent wounds. The eighth circle, Malebolge, is for deceivers. This massive circle has 10 ditches, each with a different deception. Tar envelops corrupt politicians in this area. Lead-clad hypocrites walk. Serpents strike thieves, transforming them constantly. The sowers of strife are constantly divided and desecrated. The variety of penalties shows the complexity of dishonesty, and these horrors are some of the most imaginative and terrifying in Inferno. Dante and Virgil finally reach Cocytus's frigid ninth circle. Betraying trust leads to this most pitiful hell. Unlike the burning torments that precede it, this circle depicts a freezing ice environment where souls are imprisoned in icy depths, each level representing their misdeeds. Some find themselves entangled, while others find themselves entirely immersed, their emotions recorded in a terrible silence of anguish. Satan, a terrifying three-faced creature, dwells in this cold emptiness. He creates the lake-freezing winds with 6 wings that beat constantly. In his speech, Jesus discusses Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ, and Brutus and Cassius, who conspired against Caesar. Satan's silence and captivity symbolize sin's ability to isolate and destroy. Every circle of hell reveals sin and its deep justice. Hell explores human choices and their tremendous effects, not just suffering. Dante's powerful and symbolic imagery forces us to face sin's devastating impact on our fate. Consider your choices while you travel. What are you accepting now? Where may they lead you? Dante's hell trip is a shared experience full of encounters and insights. He meets many legendary characters, famous poets, notable historical figures, and even those who have profoundly inspired him on his quest. Every meeting shapes Dante's understanding of sin and enhances the allegorical trip. Virgil, Dante's revered Roman poet, guides him through this trip. Virgil's reason, knowledge, and wisdom guide Dante through darkness. Virgil calms and guides as he emerges from the dark wilderness. He guides, advises, and protects Dante in hell. Virgil also represents human understanding's limits. He can guide Dante, but heavenly grace is what will save him. Dante respects and relies on Virgil, making him more than a guide and a symbol of human understanding. Dante meets Minos, the powerful underworld judge, at the beginning of his trip. At the threshold of the second circle, this mythical entity guides souls to their due location, based on their misdeeds. Minos wraps his tail around himself to symbolize a soul's hellish doom. His frightening face and solemn responsibility convey divine punishment. Imagine standing before this formidable creature, aware that your destiny is on the verge of determination. It is a profound moment that emphasizes human choices. As they descend, Dante and Virgil encounter historical characters whose lives were characterized by severe sin or tragedy. Dante meets Paolo and Francesca, 2 tragic lovers doomed for their adultery, in the second circle amidst the lusty winds. Their story is heartbreaking. Francesca describes how their love grew as they read Lancelot and Guinevere, which led to her husband's treachery. Her sorrowful words move Dante, and we feel compassion for a minute. Despite their love intentions, the continuous stormy winds remind them that their actions were wicked. This interaction shows the complexity of human emotion and our moral difficulties. Dante meets Florence's glutton Ciacco in the third circle, condemned to endless reign. One of the first souls to prophesy Florence's political strife, Ciacco weaves Dante's personal story with hell's vastness. Ciacco's discourse reflects the depravity of Dante's society, akin to the sins of hell. Dante's exile-related sorrow gives these interactions depth and urgency, deepening his journey. Dante meets different sinful individuals as he descends into hell. In the eighth circle, Dante encounters Caiaphas, the high priest who condemned Jesus to death among the hypocrites. Caiaphas, rooted to the ground, watches the other pretenders pass in their golden clothes. The striking visual emphasizes Caiaphas's treason and spiritual leader, dishonesty. Another important encounter occurs in the ninth circle with traitors. Dante meets Count Ugolino, a legendary Italian figure. Ugolino recounts his treachery and incarceration with his children, seeing them starve before dying himself. Imprisoned in ice, he nibbles on the head of Archbishop Ruggieri, the one who betrayed him. The realistic picture of cannibalism shows Ugolino's horror and the deep betrayal that brought him to this circle. It was one of the most moving moments of the trip. Dante and Virgil meet Lucifer in hell. He is not intense and authoritative. Lucifer is hideous, frozen, and miserable in Cocytus's freezing seas. His massive, multi-headed presence towers over the ninth circle, his 6 wings constantly moving to generate the domain's frigid winds. His 3 mouths devour Judas Iscariot, the betrayer of Jesus, and Brutus and Cassius, the betrayers of Julius Caesar. He will punish these traitors for their crimes. His disobedience to God immobilizes Lucifer instead of making him strong. He symbolizes sin's power to restrict and destroy. Meetings are more than just meetings for Dante. They are deep times of meditation, transformation, and realization. Every person he addresses teaches, warns, or illuminates human choices. From tragic lovers to the monstrous Lucifer, hell's figures symbolize sin and divine justice. Consider, what lessons may these characters teach you about your journey? Who do you contemplate? How could their warnings change you? Dante's Inferno goes beyond hell's physical pain. It weaves serious theological principles with personal difficulties, historical research, and insightful musings on humanity in a stunning work of symbolism and cultural insight. Hell represents divine justice, morality, sin, and Dante's cultural struggles in every detail. Inferno is about divine justice. The principle of contrapasso carefully constructs each punishment in hell to match the transgression. This poetic justice is one of the poem's most striking components. The lusty are tossed amid stormy gusts, symbolizing their lifelong cravings. Indulgent people live in squalor and brave the weather, reflecting their excess and self-interest. Hypocrites wear lead, which looks beautiful, but weighs them down, echoing how their words and actions hide their true intentions. Dante shows sin as a force that twists the soul and disrupts divine order through these vivid and often gruesome penalties. The punishments symbolize sin's lasting effects. Inferno goes beyond divine justice to explore morality. Dante uses hell to show that sin is an intentional choice to reject God. The 9 rings reveal a significant moral degradation, starting with lust and gluttony in the higher realms, and progressing to violence, deceit, and betrayal in the lower worlds. Dante's misdeeds become more purposeful and terrible as he descends into the abyss, showing how human decision causes moral decline. Where do we stand on this sin continuum? Dante asks. Do we unknowingly increase corruption? Dante's Inferno explores justice and morality, while also displaying the author's views. Dante places political enemies in different circles as he travels hell. God punishes corrupt, greedy, and hypocritical popes, kings, and public leaders. Even though Dante was alive when he wrote the poem, he condemns Pope Boniface VIII for political reasons. Dante's decision to cast his contemporaries in hell comments on their actions and draws on his own frustrations to embellish the story. Though influenced by personal bias, these assessments reflect the culture, demonstrating the church and state's corruption during Dante's time. Dante has prejudices beyond politics. His picture of Greeks and pagans shows his era's cultural and theological struggles. Ulysses, Odysseus, in Greek mythology, receives a sentence to hell's eighth circle due to his cunning and treachery. Dante believes that Ulysses' brilliance and ingenuity are perverted into duplicity and guile. Socrates and Homer, even in the mild first circle of limbo, cannot fully experience divine grace. This shows Dante's Christian perspective, which values faith over human accomplishments, but admires them for their intellect and morality. Mythological and historical figures enhance the poem's symbolism and cultural commentary. Dante adapts Greek mythology characters such as Minos, the underworld judge, and Charon, the soul ferryman, for his Christian narrative. These numbers show how Dante connects pagan and Christian doctrine. Their presence also underscores human limitations and divine justice. Dante uses hell to criticize his society. He condemns avarice, dishonesty, and treachery in 14th century Italy, notably in politics and religion. Dante's casting of corrupt clergy and politicians in hell shows the hypocrisy of those who claim to serve God or the greater good while pursuing their personal ambitions. While harsh, his criticism of the church calls for renewal and a return to real Christian values. Inferno is both a theological and prophetic statement on a broken world. Hell's architecture reflects humanity's soul. As Dante descends into the abyss, he grows farther from light, warmth, and hope, symbolizing sin's profound separation from God. Cold Cocytus, where the treacherous face their reckoning, epitomizes desolation and hopelessness. Satan trapped in ice in hell symbolizes sin's immobility. Satan comes out as helpless, enslaved by his rebellion. This depiction challenges devil stereotypes by showing that sin destroys and enslaves. Inferno asks readers to consider their lives and their beliefs on justice, morality, and faith. Its profound symbolism and perceptive cultural critique make us ask, what offenses have we let take root in our hearts? How have we contributed to global corruption? How may we turn from sin and embrace redemption? Dante's journey inspires readers to face their shadows and find grace. The final chapter of Dante's hell journey is stunning and symbolic. After traveling the 9 circles of hell and experiencing the depths of human transgression, Dante and Virgil reach the center of the earth, hell itself. Lucifer, the epitome of sin and disobedience, appears in this barren lake of Cocytus. Dante's journey changes from despair and punishment to redemption and hope at this key time. Lucifer, or Satan, is powerful and unmovable. He is a massive, multi-headed beast trapped in Cocytus's freezing depths. His massive wings fluttered tirelessly, creating frigid gales that blanketed falsehood. Dante depicts a world of coldness, lifelessness, and eternal solitude, unlike the passionate picture of hell. Lucifer's silence is amazing. Once the most glorious angel, he is now a pitiful, weak entity, bound by his sins. His revolt, which he thought would free him, has become his eternal misery. Though his sick wings flutter continuously, they just prolong his suffering. Sin causes solitude, inertia, and pessimism, which he represents. Lucifer forever eats Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ, and Brutus and Cassius, who betrayed Caesar. Their inclusion in the discourse of treachery emphasizes the weight of betrayal, especially when it involves individuals who have been trusted with affection, devotion, or authority. Dante considers treachery the worst sin, since it destroys confidence between people and societies. Judas, Brutus, and Cassius's eternal punishment shows that sin taints relationships, societies, and history. The path of Dante does not end in hopelessness. Virgil helps Dante down Lucifer's massive hairy form to escape hell in a bold and powerful gesture. As they descend, gravity changes, and they ascend again at the Earth's center. The meaning of this moment is significant. Dante has confronted humanity's darkest sides and his own darkness on his path through sin. After understanding sin, he is ready to rise. The climb is a spiritual metamorphosis, not only a bodily escape from hell. This is the initial step toward achieving redemption. As they emerge from the shadows, Dante and Virgil see a stunning star-studded sky. The contrast between hell's frigid, bleak depths and the endless heavens is stunning. Dante uses stars as symbols of heavenly guidance and hope to remind him of his journey's goal. They represent the highest aspiration, to draw closer to God, shed transgression, and climb to grace and salvation. Their arrival marks a new chapter. After leaving hell, Dante and Virgil are at the foot of Mount Purgatory. The sacred mountain on the other side of the earth from Jerusalem is where souls purify themselves before entering heaven. It symbolizes hope, diligence, and change, in contrast to hell's eternal pain and despair. Although Dante's adventure is just beginning, it has undergone a transformation. He stops descending and starts ascending, symbolizing his spiritual rebirth. Dante's hell journey ends with a theological statement. It reminds us that sin, albeit devastating, does not end the story. Even amid the darkest shadows, redemption is possible. However, that journey requires us to face our flaws and choose to overcome them. Dante's journey from hell shows grace's power and promise beyond our greatest failures. Dante's journey from sin to the stars makes us think about our own lives. What sins burden us? What soul shadows have we allowed? Most importantly, how do we rise from that shade and reach the light? The voyage through hell transcends Dante's tale. It inspires us to face our own spiritual battles and assures us that redemption is possible, no matter how deep the plunge.